Business isn't complicated. It's just that no one's ever shown you the control panel. And inside of each one of these four boxes is everything you'll ever need to solve. And that's because there's only four levers inside of every single business. So if you stick around till the end of this video, you'll know exactly what separates a business that stagnates from one that actually succeeds. You'll be able to do it in an afternoon and for free. Otherwise, if you want, you can hire a business coach who's going to charge you tens of thousands of dollars to tell you the exact same thing. Now, the first thing we need to understand is the control panel formula. Revenue is not some mysterious thing. Revenue is literally just your leads times conversion times average order volume. Essentially, what we're looking for is how many chances we get, so our leads, our traffic, our eyeballs, how many people see our stuff, times how often we win, how often we close the deal, how often they check out, how often they buy the thing, times our average order volume, how big that win is, how much did they buy. Now, when it comes down to it, another way to think about it is if you get 100 leads or 100 people interested in your stuff, 10 of them buy, and each one buys a $1,000 thing, you make $10,000. Simple enough. Yet, how this relates to this is that if one of those levers is weak, the entire machine slows down. So it's really important to understand where you're at, which thing is holding up the works. And most owners don't actually know which one of these is the weakest link in their business. If you want a simple way to see that clearly, I do put a breakdown below. Now let's go ahead and start with the very first thing that we need to understand. The first lever is volume. Do enough people know you exist, or more commonly referred to as leads? If you're in the service world, this is going to sound familiar. If you're in the product world, it's the same concept. Your traffic, your eyeballs, how many people know your store exists? Because at the end of the day, nothing really else matters unless people actually know you exist. And there's only a few ways to actually get people interested in your stuff. You can pay somebody to do it, aka advertising on Meta, advertising on Google. You could do sponsorships, or you can even have spokespersons, people you pay commission to talk about your stuff, or you pay to go find people who want to buy your stuff. Other than that, we also have organic, meaning you can create content on Facebook, on YouTube, on your blog, doing SEO work to attract people to you, or usually the most common place people start, and unfortunately, I'm not a huge fan of this in the long run, but it always works if you use this as a supplementary option, is referrals. You're getting people who already know you exist, or friends, family, coworkers, associates, or better yet, people who have bought your stuff and you've delivered value. You get them to get you other customers or clients. Let's put it this way. If only 20 people saw your offer today, nothing else matters. I routinely ask a lot of business owners what they're looking for when they want to grow their business, when they want to get more leads, when they want to make more money. And then I also have to flip the script and ask them what their current volume is. How many people did you call? How many people did you DM? How many networking events did you do? How many paid ads did you run? What did you do on your website to attract more traffic to it? And usually it's so slim. Let me put it this way. It's all proportional to the amount of work that you actually put in. The volume is really what matters at this stage. And a business that's doing more volume, that is raising more awareness about its stuff, even though you might have a better product or service, they will still beat you. If you want to think about it another way, if you want to get 100 people to buy your stuff and every month you're only making 5 cold calls, then you can expect a proportional amount of people to actually convert. The second lever is your win rate, or more commonly referred to as your conversion. Of all the people who saw your stuff, who see you, who see your product or service, how many buy? And what this boils down to is just 3 key things that we need to fix. We need to start with our offer, trust, and usually your sales process. Because One of these three things inside of your conversion is hurting you. The reason this is so important and the reason we start with leads is, let's say that we get 1,000 leads or we get 10,000 leads, but only one of them is buying. That means that we're just shoving things into a bucket with a bunch of holes. We're trying to collect water, and yet all of these people are going through a process and they're saying, I'll think about it. Maybe, I don't know, who knows? And what ends up happening is that either your offer is not compelling enough for them to take interest, they don't trust you enough because you don't have enough proof, or you haven't elaborated or even educated the actual prospect, or your sales process. When they actually get into a call with you, when they go to that page where it says add to cart, there's not enough for them to actually take the next steps. To put it bluntly, traffic without conversion is just paying for attention. So if you're seeing things like, I'm getting a lot of link clicks, a lot of people keep saying they're interested, but they're not actually booking a call. Or even maybe you get them into the call or you get them to that page where you can add to cart and they're not doing anything after you've convinced them otherwise, then you have a leaky bucket and you need to fix your offer. You need to incorporate more trust, either through proof or demonstrating or educating. And the most important thing is that you need to quantify. You need to script, you need to operationalize your sales process. Can't tell you how many businesses I talk to that say, we don't have a sales script. We don't have a sales process. We don't have anything that is in the books that tells people how to sell our stuff. And then they can't understand why people aren't buying. They can't see where the drop off is. And most importantly, they can't iterate and improve on it. For goodness sake, most businesses don't even track their website conversion rate when they look at their products. And a lot of businesses that sell services don't even track their close rate. And I guarantee you, if you reverse engineered all of this, if you looked at your offer and you typed it into a document, if you looked at your trust, what makes you different? How many people have you done this for? What reviews? What big outcomes have you created? And you started to put that into a scripted process, a presentation, website enhancements, the language you use, you would see exactly why people aren't buying. Then we can move on to our third lever. Our third lever is the win size, or more commonly referred to as the average order volume. How much did they spend today? Because most businesses that I encounter fall into three buckets. They're commodified, so they're subject to market rates and they compete on price. Everybody sees them as interchangeable. They don't really have a structured pricing system in place. Everything's super custom, which means they spend an enormous amount of time trying to tweak every single aspect, or ultimately they're undercharging. This usually happens a lot. The last one is usually when they talk about their prices in a vacuum by themselves, they don't know how much the competition is actually selling the same thing for more. And what it comes down to is our three levers. Just like in everything else, it's going to be your prices, or your price, your bundle, and your upsells. Because when we actually want to sell something, we want to get the highest amount that we can charge. We want it to be subject to value, not something that is interchangeable, not something that's commodified, not something that's subject to market rates. If somebody is willing to pay 10 times the amount of price versus the guy down the street, we want to be the most expensive game in town. There is no advantage to being the cheapest option. And there's usually only two models that actually work: selling something that's cheap to a lot of people or expensive to a small amount of people. A $20 thing to $10,000 people, or a $20,000 thing to 10 people. Where most businesses die is trying to live in the middle. It's not quite really too expensive, it's not quite really too cheap, so they never really make enough to grow, but they never really make too little to die fast. And this kind of just stagnates them for years. The easiest way to think about this is, are you pricing appropriately? Are you too expensive in the sense that nobody would dare do it unless the value is proportional? Or are you so cheap that you are undercutting the competition and you're not making enough to grow? You want to find out the amount of value somebody is willing to pay, how they perceive the outcome of what you're trying to sell relative to the price that you're charging. In actuality, they should get, or at least they should feel like they're getting more for their money than they're actually giving you. The higher the value, the lower the risk, the higher the price, the easier the sale. Most of these things are typically not coordinated inside the business. The second is your bundling. Do you have anything else that you can attach inside of this? This is your cross sell, your fries with that burger. And most of the time, businesses have way too many things that they're trying to sell when really they should be focusing on one thing they could sell 1,000 different ways versus 1,000 different things to sell one way. Life becomes a lot easier. What would complement your existing product or service that you're not adding right now? And then finally, your upsells. They buy the first thing. What's the next thing? Your ascension ladder or the things that you sell in order are going to determine how much that person is ever going to spend. If you look at it from McDonald's perspective, they sell the same fundamental rearrangement of ingredients: a burger, some lettuce, some sauce, maybe some vegetables, and a patty. Yet they have the value menu burger, they have the Big Mac, and they have the double Big Mac. And oh, by the way, would you like fries with that? Would you like a drink with that? And also, you should download our app. So they might turn one sale or somebody's coming in and saying, I just want this Big Mac from, let's say, $5 to $10 to potentially double or triple that. The easiest way to think about this is if you could increase your deal size by 20%, how much everybody spends by 20%, your revenue would increase 20% without you touching traffic. You have to look for an opportunities, or at least you have to look for opportunities to increase your average order volume. And either you could do that by increasing your price or decreasing the cost for fulfillment, how much it costs you to make it or how much you charge for it. You can bundle more stuff inside of it, or you can offer a better version of it. That moves us into the final lever. The fourth lever is your repeat rate, or more often referred to as your lifetime value. And what this determines is how you can actually grow as a business, because how often do customers or clients come back? Usually, a business suffers when it doesn't have repeat value because it costs you substantially more to acquire a new customer, to get a stranger to buy your stuff, than it does to get the same customer or client to buy more things. And it always comes down to a few elements. It is either your retention, so that's how long they actually stay around. It is recurring, and this is how often they're continuously buying more and more things, or it's a cross sell of some sort, meaning you have another new thing you can offer that enhances something they've already bought. Now, what we want to understand is that basically a business that aggressively focuses on these two aspects, increasing the first purchase rate and increasing the long term amount that that customer or client will ever spend with you, it really determines how aggressively you can actually grow in the long run. Because if you were to increase your retention, let's say you were to get that same customer to continuously buy over a long period of time, you have to spend nothing to get them to keep doing that. Yes, you do have to spend for your fulfillment rate, but you spent $0 to acquire that same customer or client. If you want to think about it as well, and this is a little bonus formula, is that your profit usually equals your LTV or your lifetime value minus your CAC. And if you focus on just this metric alone, if you can retain them for longer, or if you can do something that's recurring where it's a sticky product, this is why software is so powerful, because this person is saying, I'm keeping them around and I'm planting different things for them to buy at different times. The recurring model, where you see, like, I subscribe to this, why everything is a subscription, is because it works extremely efficiently. You always get this person to keep coming back over and over again. It's either that they want to buy more and they grow, meaning like you want to start with the Netflix starter package, you want to move to the mid one, and now we're on the big 4K one. But in the business world, notice how most of the software you purchase scales with your business proportionally. Let's say you have a document proposal system. This recurring charge might say the bronze plan, you can only send 5 proposals. The silver one, you can send 10. And then the gold one, you can send unlimited. They're going to get you to spend money. You're probably going to stay for a long period of time, years, if not maybe a decade, for you to stick around with that. And then eventually they'll probably offer you some sort of cross sell opportunity. An example of this that usually comes down is when you get into a piece of software and they start offering you little micro upgrades. Say, for instance, you have a mailer program like MailChimp does this perfectly. You have the retention because you need email marketing. You need to contact these people and you're not going to email them one by one. You have recurring charges because, okay, you start off with a certain amount of contacts, you upgrade to the next stage in that contact list. And then eventually you get to cross sells where it's like, hey, we noticed, by the way, you started with 1,000 contacts and now you went to 10,000 and you're still only emailing them. Would you like to upgrade to our SMS bucket? Again, their profit from that one customer or client is insanely high. So, to recap, your lifetime value, if you're only getting one customer who's going to buy for like a month or maybe not even just stick around for the next logical thing that you want to offer them, you have to fix the conversation that's happening between these two elements. You might make a lot of money on the front end, but what ends up happening in the long run is you're going to spend a ton of money trying to find new strangers to buy your stuff. When in reality, if you go through your sales list, your CRM, whatever history you have of people giving you money, and you look for another way to increase that retention, add a recurring charge or something on there. Maybe you can offer a subscription to your thing, or think of another thing that you can cross sell that would enhance the last thing they just bought. You can easily get more profit by simply increasing your LTV and lowering your CAC because this number will go down. The amount you spend to get a customer or client proportional to the amount of stuff they're going to buy from now until the end of time. As this number goes up, that means that you're getting more for less. You're literally doing less work and making more money. Let me show you how this can dramatically change your future. We'll break this down with an example. Let's say you currently have 100 leads and you have a 10% close rate on those leads, and every single person buys a $1,000 thing. You're going to make $10,000 just like you would have before. But let's say you go back to the drawing board and you start to optimize each one of these in order. You change a little bit of your lead flow. So now you get 120 leads. You increase your close rate because you get really good at sales. You fix your offer, your trust, all that fun stuff. So now you have a 12% close rate and you actually increase the price of your thing. So it's a little bit more valuable. So now you're charging 1,200 for this thing instead of 1,000. Now, mind you, you didn't double anything. You just adjusted the levers, and you're now making 17,280 from the exact same pool. And the best part is, you didn't have to spend more. You didn't have to really do more. You just had to do this one time, and you can incrementally see where the business can go, where it's headed. That is how businesses scale. Once you optimized each one of these in order, you almost made nearly double the amount of money, and that's your new baseline as long as you keep repeating this process. Now, if you want to see which one of these levers would move your business the fastest right now, I built a simple diagnostic tool below. And if you qualified, I'll show you exactly where your constraint is one on one personally. Because every business in the world runs on these four levers. If you want growth, don't chase some tactic or gimmick. Identify the biggest lever, strengthen that first. Use the breakdown below, find your weakest lever, and focus there. Because business isn't chaos, it's leverage. And I hope that this video gave you the value, the clarity, and the insight that you need to grow. I post one of these every single week. Be sure to subscribe or even comment below with what you're struggling with so I know what content to make. Until then, that's all I got, and I'll see you next time.